Hello, bonsoir, and welcome to the Get French Football News Show. I'm your host, Nathan Staples, and joining me this week are French football writer Mohamed Ali and Philippe Bargil. Holidays are coming, and with just the midweek games to go before the French football takes a winter break, everyone is vying for that Christmas number one spot. But who will sit atop of the tree and who will be gathering dust come May? All of this and more after the latest headlines. Ligue 1's 18th match day brought about several surprise results, but before we dive into the weekend, a brief recap on the round of 16 in the Coupe de la Ligue, which was last midweek. On Tuesday, Nantes beat Montpellier 3-1 in new manager Sergio Conceição's debut, and it will host will host Nancy on January 10th. The visitors through after beating Saint-Etienne, courtesy of a Maurice Dallet penalty. Sochaux came from behind to beat Marseille on penalties. Their reward will being a visit from Monaco in the quarterfinals. Leonardo Jardim's Chargers have thumped Rennes 7-0. In the other results, Paris Saint-Germain beat Lille 3-1 to set up a meeting with Metz, who beat Toulouse 11-10 on penalties after a 1-1 draw. While Bordeaux threw after a Gaëtan Laborde brace, saw them beat Nice 3-2, and they will take on Guingamp, who were held on for a 2-2 draw against Lyon with 10 men before winning the penalty shootout. In the league, Friday's match between Angers and Nantes saw Conceição continue his strong start, with Amin Harit scoring his first goal in Ligue 1 with a 2-0 win on the road for Les Canaries. Saturday's early match saw Guingamp upset a lackluster PSG 2-1 with goals from Neil Depaul and Léanis Salibur, giving the hosts the lead and a measure of revenge for Antoine Comboiré. In the multiplex, there are more surprises, as an early dismissal for Saint-Etienne's Jesse Moulin saw Lorient take full advantage in a 2-1 home win for Les Merlus. Feisty Bastia handed Rennes their first loss at home in the league as well, winning consecutive matches for the first time this season, while Toulouse were held 1-1 at home to Nancy. Montpellier shook off last week's loss to Lille and continued their recent run of form, defeating 10 men Bordeaux 4-0 at home. In Sunday's early match, Nice rode their luck, but Mario Balotelli's brace was enough to hold off Dijon 2-1, while Marseille turned in another comprehensive performance at home to Lille, winning 2-0 through Bafétimbi Gomis and Florian Thauvin's superb strike. The real fireworks were reserved for the late match, however, as seven cards, including a straight red for Benjamin Mendy, were dished out as Monaco lost for the first time at the Stade Louis II this season, 3-1 to Lyon, who are now just 5 points off the top three with a match in hand. Ligue 2 are set to take an early holiday, having wrapped up the first half of the season this weekend. Brest currently top the table, but with a win today from Troyes would see them supplant the Bretons in first place as one of four teams level on points in second place. And that's the news. But remember, for all the latest headlines, head on over to our website at www.getfootballnewsfrance.com and follow us on Twitter at GFFN. We start this week with something that's becoming all too familiar, a Paris Saint-Germain loss. This time it was in Brittany to rising Guingamp, who remain competitive in the race for Europe with the 3 points. But, Philip, is this a crisis now at the Champions?
Well, look, I haven't been really critical of Unai since he came this summer. Everybody was saying he's not he doesn't know Ligue 1 very much. He's very experienced, very good. He's won the Europa League many times. The one thing I do criticize him about is that he just does not trust neither Jesse nor Ben Arfa to play on the left wing when he doesn't want to play Lucas and still plays Di Maria. That's the first thing, he wants to play Lucas instead of Di Maria. Or rather, sorry, he wants to play Di Maria instead of Lucas, even though Lucas is having a much better season. And he keeps playing Matuidi, who is not a left winger, on the left wing. I'm not quite sure if what L'Equipe put up, or what most of the media put up, saying that Nkunku was the one playing more left wings than Matuidi. I personally didn't see it that way, but it just goes to show that I don't think he trusts has a particularly trust in Jesse, who has not been very good in fairness, nor Ben Arfa. He keeps playing Ben Arfa in this number 10 role. About the crisis, there's a lot of things to be said about the players' attitude. Like we said before the season started, there was this Zlatan get out of jail card. That was a major factor for PSG, and I don't really think the players have been non-professional. I think that Ligue 1 has just gotten better, and they just said, "Hey, we can do this." And also, Pastore is not playing. There have been many injuries. Kurzawa has been injured as well. Cavani could be more efficient, although that's a massive ask. So, yeah, crisis is a bit of a strong word. I personally don't think so. I think it's just Unai just needs to do his Christmas shopping, but do it really well, because he can't fail though. He can't have this kind of result happen in February or March, especially with Barcelona around the corner.
Absolutely, and it's starting to feel a little bit of a habit. But Eric, let's talk about the decisions to play someone like Nkunku in this kind of game. I mean, the PSG have been struggling of late, and was it the right choice to play the youngster in this one, or was it maybe a little bit too much of a risk?
That's you, Mo.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think playing sort of likes of Nkunku is a bit of a risk, for sure, because PSG needed the result in Gangon on Saturday, and to kind of rely on the youth, I thought maybe did prohibit him a little bit, because they do need to step up. They need to step up. They need to grind out these results. I agree with what Philip said moments ago, that perhaps saying that they're in a crisis is a bit of a strong word at the moment, but it could very well easily turn into a crisis should they somehow lose against Lorient on Wednesday night. But they've got a lot of problems. I think in that squad, only Cavani and Thiago Silva are the ones that have actually performed very, very well to the best of their ability over the last 18 league games. Unai Emery has to kind of change his team a little bit. He needs to really bring the best out of the underperforming players, especially Angel Di Maria and Lucas. And I wouldn't, in this kind of period, I really wouldn't rely on the young players, because you do have players with huge ability, even if they are from huge ability, worth huge value. These will be probably expensive misses for Paris Saint-Germain, and it's up to them to kind of utilize their quality to kind of dig them out of this hole. I think for now it's not too much of a crisis. I mean, to be a club labelled in crisis and you're only 4 to 7 points off the top at any given moment, just goes to show how good you are. But I think Ligue 1 has definitely changed. They can't take anything for granted. You can't just turn up and expect your talismanic striker to get you out of a tough spot every now and again. That happened a lot last season, the season before. Now Ibrahimovic is not here, and kind of, I think the professionalism and kind of the tenacity has gone with him. But they do need to sort this out within the next 2-3 weeks. Especially after tomorrow's, after Wednesday's league game, and really sort this out before the next round of fixtures come in the new year. Because if it's the end of March and there's still this sort of gap, they're going to have really a lot of signs, a lot of question marks over Unai Emery and his future.
And it's only going to build from now on. But I want to talk about another area of Paris Saint-Germain's team, at least, that we've not really mentioned in these losses, and that's their defence. I mean, the 2 goals that Guingamp score are from swift counters, but every time it seems to be played towards the defence, they look a little bit shaky. I know it's maybe picking on someone like Marquinhos, who we've been impressed with in the past. He's not quite been at that level, and it also arguably Alphonse Areola, who has this weird run of not being able to stop shots on target at the moment, which seems like an odd stat for a goalkeeper. But Philip, is there maybe some blame to put at their door? Is Marquinhos not stepping up to the plate enough, or is maybe Areola maybe not supplementing his spot as number one as solidly as we thought he might?
Not more than In other seasons, I mean, I don't think Marquinhos is having a worse season than any season David Luiz has had at PSG. It's a lot of concentration lapses that are sometimes taken, not being punished by the opposition. The only difference now is that they are being punished by the opposition. What we saw against Nice with Thiago Silva and Marquinhos not being able to understand themselves. That kind of mistake happened last season. It's just that on the opposite side, you didn't have a player like Alassane Player who would take the ball and score. You would have a player. I'm not going to name any names, out of respect, but you have a player who'll take the ball, try and shoot, miss, have the ball saved, or hit the post or what have you. So it's just a case of the defense being as good as they were, which is sometimes not very good. But with the opposition now scoring, that's the main difference, and the opposition knowing that they can score. That's really the big difference. I don't think it's PSG who are having a worse season than usual. It's just that other sides are more confident that they can beat them. And but even when they win 4-0 against the likes of Nantes and Rennes, they're just not convincing. They're just absolutely not convincing at all. So I don't. Not particularly appalled by the whole bad defending part.
I just thought it might be an interesting point to bring up, but another interesting little tidbit that keeps happening each week, Eric, is Mo, is that. Keep doing that. Yeah. It's weird him not being here. Is Angel Di Maria, and again, by the away fans, he was supposedly booed off when he was replaced near the end of the game. Is he contributing enough to this team? Is it maybe the sign that he's not pulling enough weight in this mire they're in at the moment?
No, I agree. Considering his form last season, I think there's a definite change. I don't know, I can't really put my finger on it, but the Di Maria of this season is less clinical, is less efficient, and less motivated as well on the ball. He seems very, unable to kind of get into this rhythm of creating chances. Last season it was all imperial. Some of the passing, the movement, and the couple of the goals as well he scored were very, 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 very good, of high quality. This season, he's just unable to kind of get into those positions and link up. Through the middle, specifically on the wing, you have some of the connections with Cavani have been solid, but other than that, the performances have just been very, very poor. And you've got PSG fans whistling him and jeering him at every corner. And considering they knew, the play that he can be and the play that he has been for them over the past 12 months, this guy is worth, still a 60+ million euro player. You'd expect a lot more from him. Some of the best players perform week in, week out towards a high quality. You can't be 100% every single game, but the PSG, they're probably in this form mainly because of Di Maria just not hitting the heights. They're unable to take. They're creating a lot of chances, but they're unable to take them. I think we spoke defensively. They haven't been too different from last season. You just the opposition's gone better, but I think in attack they're creating more and more chances, and if for better chance creation, better cohesion between the front three, and obviously Cavani's finishing as well, some of these games they could have been out of sight on goals alone, and so it's definitely a big question mark for PSG at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an interesting point that they've missed so many chances in those games that they've not lost by an enormous amount. But the final moment really mentioned on Paris Saint-Germain themselves, and this one I'm going to throw to both of you, really. I mean, they've been in a bit of a miserable drab of form at the moment, and there's one more game before that winter break against Lorient. Should Paris Saint-Germain lose that, may Nasser El Khelaifi pull the trigger, Philip?
Yeah, that is possible. I'm really on the let's not sack Unai yet camp, which is most of pretty much a sensible camp, because I'm hearing things about names like Van Gaal or Capello. Nathan, you can vouch for Van Gaal. it just doesn't seem like a better solution than it actually is. I mean, yes, there are some defeats, but it's almost say, hey, finally, we've got a title race on our hands, so why not? It just seems like giving Unai some time and a proper window to assess what he needs, and he needs, I would say, 5 players. It's sensible, but indeed, if PSG aren't clinical against Lorient, don't win, which I think they will. I mean, even against Lille, it just wasn't that great either. I mean, Lille did look like they didn't have anyone in midfield. I have no doubt that the game against Lorient will go fine. But indeed, if PSG aren't convincing, he is in trouble. In serious trouble, though. I mean, I don't think he's in serious trouble now.
Mel, what do you think?
I mean, I'm gonna have to lean slightly towards Al Khalifa not pulling the trigger. I think they should keep him, but I would definitely reiterate that I don't think he was the best choice to lead Paris Saint-Germain in the first place. The league form is a little bit worrying, but I think it's something that they can definitely turn around with the right additions in January. You've got, an incoming Lo Celso, the winger from Argentina, coming in, and hopefully maybe 1 or 2 more deals. And I think Paris Saint-Germain eventually they'll even out this kind of blip in form. The real money is in the Champions League, and that's basically where Emery is hired, and that's where he'll eventually be judged. Obviously, they have a tough draw against Barcelona. In all respects, obviously Barcelona are doing so well at the moment that nobody expects Paris Saint-Germain to go through. So if that exit is coupled with worry in league form, then Al Khalifa's got absolutely no choice but to fire Emery. But will he do it at the end of the season? Paris Saint-Germain have been, particularly when you look at the likes of Marseille, when you look at the likes of Lyon over the last year or two, they've been renowned for their stability. Since the Qatari era came through, firing a manager halfway through the season or 2/3 of the way through the season, I just don't see it happening. But then again, how far will results slip before he's forced to take action? At the moment, though, definitely, stick with Emery and try and find a solution.
Yeah, especially because he's laid his own bed with the sacking of Blanc. He can't really.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's a strange one, but I suppose at least in the case of Angel Di Maria, if for knowing that Louis van Gaal might walk in the door any moment, that should be a motivating factor for him in the next couple of weeks at least. But
absolutely.
A mention on Guingamp as well, because they really did well to win this game, and they've had a great first half of the season. They're currently in 5th. They were 4th up until that game on Sunday. What stood out for you in this one for the Bretons, Philip? Did they deserve the 3 points? Did they do enough to unsettle PSG to earn this win?
I think it's the fact that they were so little troubled in the first half that at halftime they probably thought, hey, we can. This lot isn't that strong. We can go out and do this. And with players like Salibur and Coco, they've got the type of players down the wing that can control PSG on the counter attack. Not to mention Krychowiak, who had another nightmare replacing Thiago Motta. He wasn't very good in the center of the pitch. I mean, Lucado and Diallo in the center of the pitch just must fancy themselves against the likes of Krychowiak, and this is where his confidence is coming from. And I actually thought it was almost undeserved that PSG was so close to not losing, because it didn't look particularly deserving of the goal, even though Cavani almost equalized hitting the bar. But Guingamp, I mean, it's not that often that they are so good at home. Actually, I think the last time they were that good was against Marseille, which was a very long time.
August, I think.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah. I think it was August, and Marseille were in a bad way. But I mean, Guingamp was superb, absolutely superb. No question about it. And they haven't always been superb at home. I remember the game against Bordeaux, where they were pretty poor and actually didn't really deserve to equalize in stoppage time. But this time it was not a problem.
Yeah, and it's interesting to think that they've got a lot of good attacking players, like you've mentioned Coco and Saliba. Brian's a very good player. I think Neil Depoe has been very good, even though most of his goals have come off the bench. But when you look that they've got only conceded 17 goals this season, that's I think it's fourth best in Ligue 1 at the moment. That's less than Monaco and Lyon. It's only behind Paris Saint-Germain, Nice, and Saint-Etienne. Mo, that's a pretty good record to have for a team that, only 23 goals. But yeah, that's impressive.
No, absolutely no. I think Kombouaré has got them, playing very smartly at the back as well. I think some of the defending has been top notch. If you just look at their record of the defeats that they've had actually this season, they've only lost them by 1 goal. They've not been overly outplayed in matches. Unlike you've got Paris Saint-Germain, when they've lost quite comprehensively, and other teams such as Marseille and Lyon as well. But Guingamp, they do defend resolutely. They do, play well from the back, and their passing has been very, very smart. I'm particularly fond of Marcel and Coco as well. And the fact that also you kind of see them what they've done against Lyon twice in the last couple of weeks. That's just evident. The way that they're playing, and for such an unassuming team, I didn't expect them really breaking into the top 10, maybe top 12 would have been an achievement, but they're doing very, very well. And they've been overachieving for some time, so it's not a total fluke. I think Kombouaré has been very, very smart with the teams that he's managed recently, and the way they're set up, they're out to they're out to win, they're out to trouble the opponents. And I think against Paris Saint-Germain, they were very keen to show that we can. If you look at the 2 counter-attacking goals, they took their chances very, very well. They're very clinical. The understanding between the players is absolutely top-notch. So I look forward to them enjoying the very, very good second half of the season.
Yeah, looking at the results, I mean, they've beat PSG, they've beat Lyon, they drew with Monaco on in the opening day of the season. They lost only 1-0 to Nice, and they were unlucky to lose 1-0 last weekend as well against Saint-Etienne. I watched that game. They definitely deserved, if it wasn't for Stéphane Ruffier, they definitely would have got something out of that game. So credit to them for fantastic first half of the season. But let's move on to the real reason Mo's here, and that's 3 league wins in a row. And all of a sudden, it looks a lot rosier at the Stade Velodrome. Rudy Garcia's men at Marseille have risen to 6th, and they're yet to lose at home this season, conceding only once against Nantes. Mo, what's changed in these last 6 to 7 weeks that's really lifted this team from the mire that they were in at the start of the season?
I think if you analyse closely the way that Marseille have been playing, you'll notice kind of a subtle change in that it's definitely more of a passing game. Rudy Garcia is well renowned for this kind of brand of football, players passing, kind of moving within the triangles and the front 3. The front 3 basically responsible for creating those chances. Under Frank Passien, last season, it was quite a physical game that Marseille would play. Running a lot and kind of lobbing the ball to each other. A lot of high balls, a lot of misplaced passes, a lot of crossing to the other corner. But this season, the ball is under Rudy Garcia. The ball is on the ground. Players are passing and they're chaining passes and movement towards the opposition half, and that's basically resulted in, a number of players kind of showcasing their ability on the ball. And Guissa, who I thought was largely very, very poor in defending last season, he's proving to be adept at holding up the play and stopping the opposition advancing and kind of getting the ball, releasing it on the wing. Maxime Lopez, obviously, this is the very, very good environment that breeds, his talent and instills his confidence. He's proving to be one of Marseille's driving forces. And then you've got Thauvin as well on the wing. He's really, really coming to his own. And above all, I think the one thing you can change is kind of the teamwork and the camaraderie that the club is showing at the moment. And that's all been instilled under Garcia. So, it's definitely a positive change.
Yeah, and it can sometimes show you how much of a change a top coach can really do. And Philippe, like I've mentioned, they were terrible at home last season. There was a time where it took almost a year for them to even get a victory at home until that win against Nantes near the start of the season. Now they seem to be almost impenetrable at home. It's such a difference within 6 to 8 months that could you really saw this coming from a team once now they've settled with a new ownership in place and a new manager at the helm?
No, I think we discussed, all 4 of us with Eric, so Mo and yourself, Nathan, that this new management and new money was going to take time to implement itself. But Rudy Garcia is just showing what a good manager he is. He takes a young player with potential, with talent, which is Maxime Lopez. He's playing having a great season. Probably best young player of the season so far. Thauvin is also playing probably his best football. Gomis is getting the ball forward. He has established a decent back four, which was not easy, and that wasn't made by Van Persie. Ubokan at left back. Nobody really understood why at first, but it's starting. He's coming into his own. So yeah, everything seems to click. I mean, it's also good for the fans as well, because nobody likes the Verdun to be empty. It is still the biggest club in the country by a considerable margin, and it should be at least half full, even against the small sides. So it really is great for French football, and they're six. I mean, where does that come from?
I suppose that sometimes shows the close of Ligue 1 this season, but there's been some great players at the team this season. I mean, Florian Thauvin's probably the most obvious one, but you've touched on another one both briefly, and I want you to have a little bit of a talk about this, Mo, because I'm sure there'll be quite a few people interested in the young man, Maxime Lopez. I'm going to write a piece on him in the next couple of weeks, but he's a fantastic young player who's really shining in this team now. He's been given the chance in the middle of the park.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's definitely, I think, one of the shining lights of the Marseille midfield this season. Considering he's only made his debut, I think, end of October. It just goes to show, just how quickly things are moving and how quickly that Lopez has seized his chance. Now I can't even imagine a side without Maxime Lopez playing. He's very, very intelligent on the ball. He definitely shows kind of traits of Nasri, very creative on the ball, very ambitious in his play. He moves forward, drives forward at every opportunity. But defensively, he's also very, very potent. Tracks back well. He's picks out passes through a needle across a three-man midfield, playing on the right or the left in front of the defensive midfielder. He's kind of the engine that helps Marseille kind of chain the ball from defense to attack, and it's very, very solid in kind of moving up and down the pitch, and also laterally as well. His partnership with Florian Thauvin at the moment is absolutely magnificent. Obviously, really good friends off the field. They're kind of showing this burgeoning relationship on it as well. So, all in all, it's been a very, very good campaign for him so far, and long may it continue.
Yeah, and it's an excellent assist as well at the weekend to Gomi. It's put on a plate for the striker, and another
lovely ball.
Yeah, and an interesting tidbit really to this Marseille team at the moment. And I want to get your view on this, Philip. Is Remy Cabella, who has maybe sat out a little bit recently as well, and came on with about 4 minutes to go in the game at the weekend. Is he maybe the odd one out at the moment for this club, or is there a way he can sort of weave himself back into the team?
It's always quite difficult to judge whether he is not good enough to be in the starting 11, or whether that the starting 11 is just gelling better without him. So I think it's definitely the latter. I think NG is doing a great job on the left hand side. Thauvin playing possibly the best football of his career. Maxime Lopez doing some great things in the center. To me, these two players, Thauvin and Cabella, are almost too identical to have on the pitch at the same time. And Thauvin does look like a better player than Cabella. So I honestly would do the same. But it's still a quality player to have on the bench as a plan B, as an impact player. It's still pretty good, but I do believe that if injuries permit, I don't think he'll get much more game time than he actually is. But there will be injuries, there will be suspensions. Maybe Thauvin will drop form, maybe NG will drop form, maybe one of the two.
He's off in January for the
Oh yeah,
African
and
nations
he's
as
going to
well.
have
So
African Cup of Nations, so I'll probably get more game time there. But yeah, it just seems better with NG on the pitch rather than Cabela. I mean, it just and I'm not sure if you agree whether Thauvin and Cabela are too similar, both of them. But I do believe that this midfield trio of in this 4-2-3-1. So Thauvin, Lopez, and NG look more balanced without Cabela than with him.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that.
Okay.
And you make an excellent point with NG going to the African Cup of Nations. There might be a chance for him to get a solid place in that side if NG does go well. At least if his nation do go reasonably far. But last point on Marseille, Mo. Obviously they've risen to 6th now. Can they stay there?
I mean, one would hope so, because I think when I last was on here in October, we did say that now they've got the money confirmed. Kind of the squad has to limp across the finish line in January and then sign the players that they need. They've done remarkably well since they were getting up to 6th, grinding out positive results. I think it's 2 defeats in the last 11 or 12 league games. So if they can kind of end the winter campaign in 6th with a win against Bastia on Wednesday nights, definitely things can only get better with the addition of a couple of players in January. And say for example a striker, maybe a competent left back, etc. They 6th, but why not even 5th or 4th? The sky's the limit. I think the places for the Champions League is definitely gone. I think Lyon are the only ones that have possibly an outside chance out of the top 3. The team's not in the top 3, but I think finishing higher than 6 could be a real possibility. The club are playing so well at the moment, and it just remains to see kind of how long will this run go.
Yeah, and just a very quick mention on their opponents on Sunday, and that in Lille, they look very different without Nicolas Despreville up front, and they after 3 wins in the last 4, and him out until the winter break. It's good that injury, strangely enough, has probably come at the right time for them, hasn't it?
Yeah, and I don't think we've mentioned it enough. I mean, the game was not a classic by any stretch of the imagination, but Marseille did beat a Lille side who were almost with most of their players back, and not an easy side to beat these days. And it didn't have this kind of exciting twist just for those 5 minutes where Gomis and Thauvin scored right after each other, but still an extremely hard team to beat. And I almost think that they were unlucky there to lose, because the league goalkeeper didn't have that much to do, and this could have ended 0-0 if Basha doesn't make his mistake, and if Thauvin doesn't pull out a great shot. So still, this is probably something we haven't said enough, is that it's Lille are not easy side to beat, and Marseille did it.
And credit to them, and hopefully another tough game in Bastia, who've won their last 2, and as well to finish off. Hopefully they can get a result in that one. But we move on to Sunday evening's game, and Monaco really were brought back down to earth with a bump after a spectacular run in Ligue 1 full of goals and shutouts and people going nuts over them. They were finally caught out by a really plucky Lyon side. Mo, what did Lyon do that got them so much success in this one?
I think they were able to kind of weather the Monaco storm. They knew that Monaco would kind of race out of the blocks. This is a team that has been free scoring for the past couple of months, and they will look to impose very, very early on. And they did. If you look at the first kind of 15, 20 minutes, Monaco did have a couple of really good chances. I think they could have. I can't remember if the score was 1-0 at this point, but when Djibril Sidibe handled stupidly, I think he could have definitely scored that. And put a goal on his side. I don't know why he chose to handle the ball, but I think the dynamic of the game would have changed. And Lyon, they've always been potent on the counter attack. They've always been very quick to exchange passes and kind of hit teams on the break, and they did that to full effect, yesterday. I think the game plan just worked very, very well for them. And obviously, Monaco, this is, I do have question marks. When a team is playing this well, how quickly can they react to setbacks? And, the whole world has obviously taken notice of this team scoring so many goals. Okay, they've gone 1-0 behind. How well? And I think if they did, if Mendy hadn't been sent off, they were in the ascendancy anyway. I think they could have nicked the draw. They could have, turned it around. But when Mendy got sent off and then lost their heads a little bit afterwards, you had Mendy, you've had, a couple of players bickering, you had Subasic as well, and on Valbuena. They've just lost their heads. And I think the game plan that Jardim had kind of set up had just went to tatters. And obviously Lyon they're always a potent attacking threat. They just, very, very easy from then on, with the man and the goal advantage, to kind of seal the victory.
It's very, it's very strange because Monaco did start great, and Sidibe, he maybe, if he does stretch his head out a lot,
a little bit,
Well, the ball is far from his head though, and it is going away from him.
A little bit of a diving header, maybe. I just find it very stupid that he just just nonchalantly just stuck his hand out and just kind of gave up.
Well, the thing is, he knows he's going to have to get a booking if he does that. So why don't you just? I don't know if it's out of frustration when the guy sees the ball, say, no, I have to touch this, or I'm going to touch it with my arm and hope the referee doesn't see me. But you've got the linesman, you've got the ref, you've got the players around you. Yesterday was not a great day, especially for Ligue 1 referees. I'm thinking about the Nice versus Dijon match, where two penalties were a bit of a joke and Balotelli was offside. But on this occasion, CDB really should be thinking twice before doing something like that. And then the dust settled, because at the beginning you could see that Gonalon's absence was extremely noted by Lyon, but Touzard actually ended up coming strong into the game. Monaco didn't have that pressure and that easiness they have to score 50 goals in 15 games, which is pretty impressive, much more than any side in Europe. But once Lyon settles, they just said, okay, we know how to defend. We're not too bad, not too good either. And I don't know. To me, that first of all, the first goal, I don't know if is it just me, or do Monaco look completely naive defending that way? You've got Valbuena, who's got loads of minutes on the ball to make his pass. He makes a sideways pass to Gizal, and Gizal has all the time in the world to line up his shot and score. And you've got the back fours. It's not like they actually rushing onto Gizal. I mean, no offense to him. He's improved leaps and bounds, especially in his finishing, and well done to him. But Mendy or Jemison just don't look like they say, oh God, this guy's got the ball, I have to block him. It's like, okay, well, it's only Gizal. He's not going to score from there, is he? You know what he did. Then Mendy gets sent off for, not
Madness.
Really sure what. Yeah, I mean, just like Bizevac. I mean, Bizevac. Not sure if we can have a punching contest between Mendy and Bizevac. which was the worst reaction to what? But it was that kind of day. So referees not being very good and players fighting between each other, and it changed everything. It changed everything because Monaco had to revert to a 4-4-1-1. Then Lyon had a penalty. One thing that it's a shame that Eric can't join us now, as this Lacazette missing penalties is seriously worrying. It's okay for yesterday because Lyon didn't lose any points because of that penalty miss, because he did score the third goal. But this is probably the biggest game Lyon had this season domestically, and they need Lacazette to be performing, especially from the penalty spot, which is an asset that he's expected to score from penalties. the thing is that I'm not quite sure who Lyon have another player that could take penalties for Lyon. But yeah, that's beside the point. He should be scoring those. But it didn't end well for Lyon, probably because of Mendy's mad moment, and it puts a lot of excitement in the top of the table as well, because I'm not sure what's happening between this Metz-Lyon decision, but it's taking an age. It's been 3 weeks now?
Yeah.
2 weeks. I mean, Lyon. We know basically. I would think that Lyon would get the 3 points for their goalkeeper getting hit with.
You think so?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
I find it a bit unjust. Might be the Marseille fans kind of speaking here, but I just feel like, considering that Metz were also ahead and kind of, it truthfully none of their fault. I think it was just a ridiculous incident. Coming from the stands, and I think definitely stadium closure and all the like. But maybe
Metz need to be punished though.
Yeah. I mean, fine the stadium closure, yes, but kind of the 3 points, considering they were also ahead, kind of. I mean, I don't know. Possibly is the rules are rules, and the rules do say you can be deducted points, so the result can be overturned, etc. But you never know.
But I have no idea what they're waiting for to give it to give us a decision. I mean, I think they were supposed to give us a decision 10 days ago. I heard about a decision being given on a Thursday. And I'm not even sure it was last Thursday. It was a Thursday before then.
Yeah.
And still nothing has been done. Metz are on 17 points with 18 games. They are leading 1-0 in a game after 35 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, it was cut off around. Yeah.
And you are waiting to get back, because if they do win this game, be it on or off the pitch, well, they'll be 2 points behind PSG, with and depending on the goal difference, if they are given a 3-0 win on the French call it tapis vert. I'm not quite sure what it's called in English.
A walkover.
Sorry.
A walkover.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. It would be a plus 16 goal difference to a plus 18 to PSG. So that would really put them in for the top three, which is which is massive. It was a massive win yesterday, really big. One thing I would like to mention, as I wasn't able to attend last week. Monaco are going to play against Manchester City in February and March in the Champions League. Now, certain degrees of optimism and pessimism. I just think that Monaco have almost peaked too soon this season, and that you can't possibly be that good for 8 months, which is a real shame, because I think Monaco probably won't be as lethal for such a long period of time as they are now. I mean, they've all outscored anyone this season, which is absolutely phenomenal. But I just worry that their form won't be as good when the games will come up against Manchester City, and that it will probably be harder than what it looks like now, unfortunately.
It's an interesting point. I have a feeling they'll for the Metz-Lyon decision probably during that winter break. But I wanted to mention someone who's had that surprising resurgence and probably not the best in your eyes, and that's Mathieu Valbuena, who scored 4 goals in the last 5 games. He's really rediscovered himself almost in Lyon in the last couple of weeks, hasn't he?
Yeah, and not before time as well. He's definitely coming, into his own. I think it's 5 goals in the last 7, and statistically his best run of form in Ligue 1, full stop, whether it's Marseille or Lyon. And I think he's just, the fruits of kind of the labor that he's been working on over the last couple of weeks. He's working doubly hard, to considering the year that he's had as well. I think it was now or never to kind of impose himself on this Lyon team. So, and he took a chance. He took the chance well, not only in Ligue 1, not only against Paris Saint-Germain. He was one of the better Lyon players. He scored the winner against Rennes as well. And yesterday he was very, very good, making the team of the week again. And also not forgetting his performance in the Champions League game against Sevilla. It's it's kind of the Valbuena of old, the one that was, very, very good in his final season for Marseille. It's the kind of form that saw him, become a regular in the France team as well. So, I think as a player and kind of the memories that I hold from him, it's very, very good to see him playing well. Maybe not for the kind of the shirt that he's representing, but it's very good. He's a very, very good footballer, technical footballer who's able to kind of impose on a match and be a game changer. So it's very good to see him amongst the goals.
Yeah, and just to mention on Monaco as well, Philip, how important is it they bounce back straight away in this game in midweek, that they don't dwell on this sort of defeat and really put something to rest in this next game?
I think it's going to be quite tough if they don't beat Caen. Have showed a bit of resilience in those last few games. It's quite important that they do beat them. I think they will, but they do need this last effort before going into the festive period, because they've got a big game on the first match day of 2017 actually, which will be away at Marseille at the Vélodrome. So not an easy place to go to these days. One of the only 3 sides that haven't lost at home yet, and that's Monaco's next away game. So not an easy one. And they are 4 points behind Nice. Nice will be at Bordeaux, which is not a banker away win by any stretch, even though Bordeaux are just not having a great season at all. But yeah, it is quite important that they get things back on track, because now it's all going to be about Manchester City. It's always going to be about, we need to play well, we need to prepare well for the Champions League, we need to have our best squad fit, but we also need not to have our best players, the best starting 11, to be burnt out by February. So it's still going to be very, very important for them to beat Caen, which they should.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting balance, and for them to keep hold of every single one of their players, because there will definitely be some bigger teams hunting around for some of those young, talented players in their squad come January. But they might be able to just hold on at least for this month. But we'll finish on this week with Angers, who have picked up just 7 points in their last 10 games and have slowly slid down the table. A 2-0 defeat at home to Nantes on Friday highlighted their recent run of poor form. But what has changed since this time last year, where they were really, really excelling though in the league and surprising everyone?
I think it's just the case of second season syndrome. Last season, they were definitely above average in every single department. And this season, it's just a bit difficult. I think you kind of attribute this to opponents becoming more clinical, more adventurous, and more efficient in their play. And this is just something that Angers can't keep up with. The talisman from last season, Ndoye, and kind of the other key players. Diedhiou is also not doing amazingly well, and I think 4 defeats against the last 5 in the last 5, and just if you look at some of those results, I think there's perhaps 2 or 3 games that they could have definitely won. I'm just looking at the defeat against Nancy, and obviously on Friday night against Nantes as well. Nantes have got basically a fifth of their season total against Angers at home. Angers at home is also a very, not very easy place to go. I'm speaking of what I've experienced. Obviously, Marseille did not win there earlier this season. They used to be a very, very dogged side, a very, defensive minded, but also very clinical, going up front and punishing players once you make a mistake. And just kind of that air of determination and kind of fighting for the loss has kind of gone, which is a bit of a shame to see. And I think if you look at maybe it's a bit too early to say, because it is a bit of a dip in form. Had they done okay over the last couple of 3 or 4 weeks, maybe they would not have been at the position they are now. But some of the teams that are below them are now picking up steam. If you look at Nantes, obviously under the new coach, I do fancy them to stay up. So there's just a lot of question marks to answer.
Yeah, especially when you start looking at the table, and there's Caen, there's Metz, there's Dijon, and Nantes behind them. Three of those teams have got games in hand and can go above them with victories. They're all playing. Well, I suppose Nantes and Caen are playing each other, but two teams who quite easily go behind them, and then all of a sudden they're really in trouble. And Philip, they've only scored 15 goals this season as well. That's the second worst in Ligue 1, joint with Nancy, and the Nantes are the only team that are below them, and they put two past them this weekend. So they're still conceding only 22 goals, which is the best around that bottom end of the table, but they're just not doing enough this season, are they? They're missing some, like the goals of Ndoye that was a real injection last season.
Well, the thing is, are they actually scoring less goals than last season? I'm not quite sure. If you look
I
at
will search as you carry on.
Sorry,
I will search for you as you carry on.
Well, actually, I'm searching as I'm carrying on, but I was. Yeah, I would say 40 goals in 38 games. It's more than one goal per game, which is pretty good. And they stopped caring actually when survival was a given last season. They've never been a great attacking side. They just were extremely organized under Stéphane Moulin, and you had Cheikh Ndoye who was great in the air. This season is some kind of second season syndrome, where the plan is maybe becoming a bit boring, where the players are not particularly as concerned as they were last season. I can't say that I've watched them many times. The last one I recall is playing at PSG. It was a midweek game, playing five at the back, and it was a typical Liga outfit game from last season, where the away side visiting the Parc des Princes would play with 11 men behind the ball, and once they conceded the first goal, which was not weird as though it was a Thiago Silva header, they would just say, "Okay, well, we've done our best. Let's now go home." That's probably what has been happening. Just same old story compared to last season. Whereas Lorient, they've sacked their manager, they brought in new people. Nantes have had sacked their manager as well. They brought in Conceição, who seems to have installed a bit of life, and pretty sure Nantes and Girard wouldn't have won at Angers. And then you've got the promoted sides who have certain degrees of varying degrees of success. Caen as well, where it's been changing and over and over again. Angers is just the same squad doing the same thing, and I mean, not an expert on Angers by any stretch, but I think the players are just saying, well, let's. We're not accustomed to being in Liga. Struggling is won't surprise many people, and this is what's happening. Not very. Not entirely surprising. It was more surprising to see them doing well as they did last season, than them doing not that great this season.
Yeah, and watching that game on Friday night myself, that I think that it was clear that Angers just don't have a plan anymore, in my eyes. I mean, all the time it seemed to be skipping the middle of the park. It seemed to be trying to get it to Diédhiou, who couldn't do anything because there was no one around him. They brought on Pepe, who's been impressive in the last couple of weeks, and he couldn't quite get anything motivated. There was just nothing in the centre of the pitch that they could really do to upset Nantes' rhythm, especially because they had performed so admirably and really got them on the back foot early with a couple of good chances and then a good goal on 20 minutes. But looking at this table, Mo, and we've mentioned it very briefly, I mean, looking down from Bastia downwards, they're on 20 points. Angers are on 19, in 15th. Their bottom three are on 16, 16 and 15. So they're in a real relegation battle, especially if they lose that game against Lyon, which is their one in midweek. They're dragged into the mire a little bit if teams are starting to improve below them, aren't they?
Yeah, no, absolutely. If you look at the kind of the table, I think from Lorient to Bastia, you've got a 5-point difference, and that's you got a couple of teams in there with obviously a game in hand as well. Things can change game week to game week. So I think, I don't know, kind of. I mean, who would you select out of those teams to go down, or favourites to go down? It's very, very difficult to say at this point.
Probably Angers. Probably Angers, because I think Caen have gone through some stuff. and they're showing much more character than they did. They did beat Nice, which is not an easy thing to do these days. They comfortably disposed of Metz. Metz are my candidates probably to finish bottom, despite being in the lead against Lyon. This is what's very very strange. But the defending is probably the worst defending in Ligue 1. Lorient again, they're showing character. They've got the players to stay up. It's they've just beaten Saint-Etienne, although Ruchier wasn't playing, so it doesn't count. You've got not much else. You've got Nancy, you've got Dijon. Dijon is a very hard team to beat. They're very unlucky to be so down in the table because they keep getting those draws. And Nancy, but apart from that, I think Angers are right in it. But Metz are I'd say Metz are my favourites to finish bottom. I would say maybe between Angers and Nancy for 19th at this moment in time.
Yeah, you make a great point, Mo, because I mean, I've been doing and throwing this conversation for a while because I watched Caen a couple of Fridays ago against Dijon. They're 3-1 up, they're a man up, and you think, right, well, see this out, then nice easy win, and they're back in confidence, and they draw 3-3, and Dijon show that character to get back into the game, and I'm thinking, well, Caen are going to go down this season, and then they end up winning this weekend, and then I thought, no, look, rubbish, and then this weekend against Angers, they were much better. They were in that 4-4-2 with the two strikers, Salah and Stepinski, really working into the channels for each other as well. And Gillet sort of commanding in the middle of the field. They looked much better all of a sudden. And I thought Lille a couple of weeks ago under Antonetti, you think they look rubbish. Now they look better, at least when De Preva was on the field, at least anyway. And that seems me hammering that point home. Nancy have improved in the last couple of weeks and picked up a few wins. Lorient, although they were probably lucky that Saint-Etienne decided not to play Ruffier. That certainly helps, but they're back in the run with a couple of decent results and have looked at least better. So you make an excellent point of you can't really count anyone out from that from 12.
I think one thing I would say though, definitely Dijon, clear. I think because I think you do look at the other teams that you just mentioned. Bit unpredictable, where you think one game they're absolutely rubbish and destined for relegation, and next they pick up a decent victory. In Caen's case, very convincing victory against Metz. But Dijon, I think for a while now, they've been in positions where they've been down and out during a game, and they've come back to steal a point. And then there's the inverse where they've actually been ahead or been destined for a point, and they screw it up within the last couple of minutes. I think if you look at the proportion of goals conceded from the 75th onwards, for better or for worse, but they can never grind out the victories. They either perform well to earn a point or throw away all three. And I think just those traits, I think they haven't really been convincing. Overall, they've been caught up in too many draws, too many rescue operations, and too many stupid defensive errors that have either seen them lose the points. And I think just definitely, other teams are bigger, are more, more of a favourite to stay up. And, with Dijon, I can't really see them bringing people in January to kind of rectify this position. Okay. So, I think they'll be my favourites to go down.
Yeah, you make an excellent point as well, because you look at the goal difference of -5, and they've scored 24 goals this season, which is by far the most on that bottom half of the table, at least in those teams that we're discussing, really. And
I've got the stat, Nathan. I've got the Angers statistic, how many goals they scored this time last season.
Go ahead.
15 goals this season in 18 games.
Yeah.
So give it your best shot. How many goals did they score after 18 games last season?
But 20.
Less.
Less. All right. I'll go for 18.
It was 17.
All right.
It was 17. Oh, wow. I think they were like 6 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got. It's all about. They're not good in front of goal. They never have been good. So this is not a change. This is not a change from last season. At this time last season, 18 games. Goals, they were.
Second, no?
Second.
Correctly, yeah, wow.
Yeah, second, with only 17 goals scored in 18 games, which is less than one goal a game. which just shows, that maybe this season is a bit better than last season.
It's good to see that the league's kind of buckled up.
Yeah. So
no,
you've got a side who's third bottom who scored 24 goals.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool,
Very strange. I think what a perfect start to end the show on. I think it shows you just how much Ligue 1 has improved in this first half of the season. And that's all the time we have for this week. Thanks to Mo, Philip, and to all of you listening at home. We'll join us for an extra special final show in midweek to mark the halfway point of the season on Thursday. But until then, a bientôt and goodbye.